friends, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Katie and this is Rouse Rising. My little homestead on the internet where I share with you all about holistic homemaking and homemade meals from scratch. If you're into all of that, please click the subscribe button so that you can become part of the Rouse Rising family, and also hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with all of my latest uploads. Today I'm going to be sharing with you how to mill your own wheat at home, and the particular mill that I have, I'm going to do a little demonstration for how I do that here at home now. This mill was gifted to me from one of the subscribers on this channel, and after her I have named this mill Margaret. This is Margaret the Mill, and it has made quite a few loaves for my family already of delicious bread. So today I'm going to show you how I'm going to mill the grain, and then I'm going to walk you through the steps of how I make a beautiful homemade loaf of bread. When you first get your mill home, one of the first things that the manufacturers recommend that you do is that you run a cup of rice through this. Now, this mill has already been used, so I'm not going to be doing that today. You also want to follow your manufacturer's guidelines. This is a Como mill. It is the Fibitus Classic, and this grain mill is a lot like a few other grain mills. You have the Nutra mill. That is the one that is most available on the market right now, and you can get a Nutra mill which is almost identical to this Como Fibitus Classic from Amazon, and I will leave that linked down below in this video's description if you want to take a look at that. With this grain mill, you can grind your own fine flour or you can grind a coarser flour. There is an indication dot on the side. It is a black dot right there, and right now I don't have it all the way set to fine. When we turn it on, we can adjust the coarseness to the thickness or to the type of grind or coarseness that we want. Right here on the side of the Fibitus Classic is the power switch, and most of these stone grinding mills are very similar in how they operate. This one, the adjustment is super easy. You just twist this top canister and it adjusts the coarseness. There are others that you have to manually adjust the coarseness with a key or with a special tool, but with this particular one right now, and I haven't had to do any maintenance yet, it's a simple adjustment from the top. It comes with this beautiful lid, and you would be amazed at how much quieter this machine runs with the lid in place. I'm going to go ahead and plug this in, and we are going to grind our first bit of wheat in it. Before you add your grain to the mill, you want to be sure that it is turned on. That way nothing is getting jammed up inside of there. So it does make a loud noise when you turn it on. I'll adjust the volume in this video so that it's not too offensive to your ears, but at first I'm just going to kind of give you a glimpse of what it sounds like. Okay, so this first grind that I am doing is with a hard red wheat berry. You need a hard wheat for your breads. If you want to make cakes, biscuits, that sort of thing, then you would use a soft wheat berry. So today, to make my bread, I am using this hard red wheat, and this is a winter wheat, but we're not going to get too deep into specifics about types of wheat. Just know that if you have a hard wheat, you can make bread. So focus on getting some kind of hard wheat, whatever you have access to. And then once you get used to using that type of wheat, you can venture out and experiment and use all different other types of wheat. Then you can become a connoisseur of what is winter, spring, summer wheat, that sort of thing. But for today's purposes, what I had access to was wheat berries from, these came from Natural Grocers. I have some White Winter organic wheat berries here, and the other ones were hard red winter wheat berries. And like I said, I got these from the bulk section at Natural Grocers. I also order my wheat berries from Azure Standard, and I will link that down below, as well as Margaret, who gave me this grain mill, also gave me a 7-gallon bucket with hard red wheat in it to use. So blessed to have that as well. So today we're gonna add some white wheat, and then I'll show you the difference of the two. And when I make my bread at home, I prefer half red wheat and half white wheat, and both are hard wheat berries. So today you will see I am putting in my bowl a combination of both, because I don't mind if they're mixed in this batch, because these are gonna go to make my daily loaf of bread that I'm gonna share with you today. So when it starts to make that noise at the end, I know that my stones are grinding on each other and I want to turn it off. There's no more wheat in there. Sometimes there's a little bit more, so when I go to turn it on next time, a little bit more shoots out. So this is our wheat. So here we have the white, and this is fairly warm. And here we have the red wheat. You can see a slight difference in color. Maybe able to tell this way. So we've got the white over here and the red over here. The red has more protein. It has just a little bit more nutrition as far as protein goes. It's more sustaining. So I think a lot of people, especially people who are into prepping and things like that, prefer to keep a hard red wheat on hand because of its protein content and because of how beautiful the bread comes out. So I'm gonna take this now and we are gonna make our daily loaf of bread. For my daily loaf of bread, I start out with 2 to 4 tablespoons of sugar, depending on the sweetness you like, 2 teaspoons of salt. I'm going to add 1 2/3 cup of warm water, and then 2 teaspoons of active dry yeast. Give that a little stir and let it sit for just a minute while I combine my dry ingredients, just my 4 cups of flour, and then about half a cup of oats. I normally don't stick my hand in the container like that, but today I did. I'm going to mix these together, and then I'm going to be adding my liquid. But first, I forgot 4 tablespoons of some kind of fat. Today I'm using olive oil, and we are going to add our wet ingredients to our dry ingredients and start getting those mixed up. And once all of the ingredients are combined together in a shag, I'm going to put it on the counter and I'm going to start kneading the dough. And I'm going to use a floured surface to knead my dough onto, so that if the dough needs more flour, it will absorb what flour it will take from my floured surface. So right now I'm just trying to get all the flour out of the bowl. My dough is still a little bit wet, so I need to add more flour to it. And then from there, I'm just going to knead this dough for approximately 8 to 10 minutes to develop the gluten in it. And once the gluten is developed in this dough, I am going to put the dough back into the bowl. The bowl is going to have some olive oil in it. And the olive oil is going to prevent the dough from sticking, so that when I take it out for its second and final shaping and degassing, it won't stick to the bowl. So right now I'm just kind of forming up my round of dough. There we go, putting the olive oil in the bowl. And I'm going to coat this on one side, and then I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to cover this with some saran wrap and a damp, wet towel. Then I'm going to place it in a warm place. You can leave it on your counter if it's warm enough. I'm probably going to stick this in my oven with the light on, and that provides just enough warmth for this bread dough to do a nice rise. And it's going to sit there and rest for about 30 minutes. Next up, we're just going to enjoy a refreshing water kefir drink we have made here at home. Also, while I'm waiting on my dough to finish rising, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to use lard from the pigs that we harvested. And I rendered down their fat and made some lard. That is what I'm using to grease up this pan. You can use butter, you can use whatever fat you have on hand to make this a non-stick surface for your bread dough to go in. And then I'm going to flour this surface and I'm going to get this bread dough shaped up. I do this by patting it out into a rectangle type shape, and then I just roll it up, and then I'm going to tuck the ends under, kind of pinch it all together a little bit. Once I get it into my pan, I'm just going to degas it some more. I just kind of cram it down in there and just stuff it. It's resilient. This dough is going to bounce back and rise up beautifully. So I just make sure that it's pressed down in there really well. I also think I might have a little bit too much dough for this particular bread pan, but that's okay. It's going to rise up pretty quickly. I am going to leave this with a little bit of oil on top of it. And next we're going to top it with some saran wrap, and that's going to keep it from drying out. This is going to sit for about 20 to 30 minutes. I want it to rise up about 1.5 inches to 2 inches above the top of my bread pan. When you do the final shaping of your loaf and you put it into your bread pan, you do at that time want to set your oven for 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and that is going to preheat while your dough rises. I just put this on the stove top. It was plenty warm enough to get it to rise. And then I've got a baby in my arms, so Hagen here is going to help me. And I'm also filming, so, you know, don't do this at home. Don't try this at home. I'm always multitasking. I'm filming, I'm holding a baby, and we're baking some beautiful bread today. So that's what you're going to get here. It's not perfect, but hey, it feeds us. The kids are going to enjoy watching the bread. They love watching whatever's in the oven do its thing. Bread has baked for 20 minutes, and at this time I'm going to cover it with a foil tent so that it doesn't get too brown on top, and I'm going to put it in for another 15 to 20 minutes. After that time, I'm going to take it out of the oven, and I'm going to smear the top with some butter. Oh yes I am, because this mama is no longer dairy free. My baby can tolerate dairy. My nursing baby can tolerate dairy, so I have went the last 12 months without dairy. In the last month or two, I have been eating dairy again, and so butter is life, and that is how we make this loaf irresistible, this beautiful wheat loaf of bread, and we just can't wait to dig into it. So I'm going to take it out of the pan pretty immediately after I put the butter on top and let it cool on a wire rack. This is going to be a delicious loaf of bread. I can't wait to slice into it and show you what it looks like. The bread cooled on my countertop, and then before I went to bed, I wrapped it in a plastic bag and just let it sit on the counter overnight, and this is the next morning. It slices up perfectly after I've let it sit for a little while. So if I slice a loaf of bread when it's still warm, it usually falls to pieces, but after it completely cools, it slices perfect. Look at these beautiful slices that I'm going to use to make my kids' lunch today. So delicious. They love homemade bread. They have gotten quite spoiled this last year off this sandwich bread. And prior to that, they were super spoiled off of the sourdough that I make as well. But lately, this has just been so easy that this is what I've been making for our daily loaf of bread. I need to get back to my sourdough bread baking. If you're interested in that, I will leave it linked below.
We're making flour, and my mom makes flour. It's snowing outside. I thought it's spring, but now it's winter. I'll do tell that store, and these are the ingredients.